Welcome back, guys. Now you know variables are used to hold values temporarily while the app is running. But each variable not only holds a value, but also it can have behaviors. It means when you define a variable, the variable can hold a value and also do something on this value. To see how a variable can behave in practice, let's declare a variable called my test number of type int, and then initialize it with 82. Okay, now I print the my test number by using the print function and run the code. As you see, 82 will be printed in the output. Okay, this example shows how a variable can hold a value and also shows how you can use a variable. Now I want you to show how a variable can behave. So place the cursor here in front of the variable name, type dot. As you see, a pop-up window will appear that is called IntelliSense. You've seen this pop-up before. If the pop-up is not displayed, you can easily press the Control and the spacebar key to open it. I'll talk about the IntelliSense pop-up in depth a little further. In this pop-up, there is a list of suggestions that all are related to the myTest number variable. In fact, most of them are behaviors that this variable can have. Let's use one of them. For example, I type D, keep typing E and C. As you see, as I type, the pop-up makes suggestions with regard to what might be needed. While the DEC or decrement function is selected, press the Enter key. Okay, what's the decrement function or dec function? Decrement function, or shortened to dec, is a function or behavior that acts on this variable. Let's run the code again. This time, the value printed on the output is 81. To figure out how this happened, let's check the code. When you run this code, the code execution starts from the beginning. So this variable from type int will be declared and initialized with 82. So now this variable holds the value 82. In the next line, it prints the result of this code. The dec function decrements the value inside the variable. On the other hand, the behavior of this function is to decrement the value of the variable. So this function returns 81. Thus, it prints 81. So decrement or dec function is a kind of behavior on this variable. Note that we can do this in a different way. We can reassign the myTest number variable and use the decrement function, and then print the result, prints the value inside the myTest number. Let's run the code again, but before that, let's clear the output and then run the code. As you see, we'll get the same result. Okay, let's examine another behavior of this variable. The next behavior that a variable of type int can have is compare to function or compare to behavior. This function is used to determine whether the number inside the variable is larger than another number. As you see, there is a red wavy line under the compare to function because this function requires a number of one of these data types. So I enter a number. For example, I enter 100 inside the parentheses. And now the error is gone. What you pass into a function is called an argument. So 100 is an argument for the compare to function. Now the error disappears. Let's run the code again. As you see, the print function prints the result of this code. Note that this code is also an argument for the print function because it returns a number as a result. If I remove this code, the print function asks us a value or an argument from one of these data types. So we can pass a string into the print function as an argument. We can pass a decimal number or a variable that holds a number or even a code that returns a value as a result. Something like this. Okay, as you see, when I run the code, -1 will be printed in the output because the compare to function compares this number, the number that variable myTestNumber holds, 82, with this number, the number that is passed as an argument. So 82 is compared with 100. If number 1 is greater than number 2, the function returns 1. Else if number 1 is less than number 2, the function returns -1. And if two numbers are equal, the function returns 0. As 82 is less than 100, the function returns -1. So if I enter a number that is less than 82 and run the code, the result will be 1 instead of -1. Note that we can use a variable instead of this number. So I can declare another variable here, for example, myTestNumber2 of type int and initialize it with 100, and then use myTestNumber2 as an argument for compare to a function. If I run this code, I'll get the same result. Okay, now let's talk about IntelliSense. IntelliSense is a pop-up window that contains a variety of features including code completion, parameter info, and quick info. You already know about code completion. It helps us to write code quickly by providing a list of suggestions that appear while we're typing. For example, type TES. As you see, this brings up the pop-up that shows a list of names that contains TES. Keep typing to reduce the search scope and move between the suggested items by using the up and down arrow keys. And after finding the required item, press the enter key or double click. The other handy feature that IntelliSense provides is parameter info. Parameter info provides information about the argument or arguments accepted by a function. For example, as you learned, the compare to function needs a value of one of these types and returns an int as the result. Also, quick info helps you to learn more about the code you're using. Note that if a function doesn't have any argument, for example, the decrement function doesn't need any argument, the parentheses will be empty. Okay. Let's make a conclusion until now. Until now, you've learned a variable contains two main parts, a data part that holds a value and a function part that contains functions or behaviors that are related to the variable. Also, you've learned about two functions that an int variable can have, decrement function and compare to function. In the next video, I'm going to teach you about functions or behaviors that are available in a string variable.